Through them all. COVID was really good to Sweetwater.
Yeah, sure.
I sat here and I built a pedal board. It's up in the garage with all my gear, all these Strymon pedals, they ain't cheap.
No.
God dang, it's fun to do the research.
Yeah, no, it certainly is. But it's like somebody was telling me that it is so many options. It's paralyzing with all the things that you can do, and they're like, I just got this combo amp instead because it's just I can turn a knob and I don't have to think about how to get a tone, how to go and tweak that.
Yeah.
And there are some people, like Doug Klein. He has this huge pedal board, with like a dozen or so pedals, and I'm like, how do you haul that around? So. And
then you get old and you can't lift the amps. Nowadays, if I'm going to buy an amp, I lift it first. I'm like, oh, I can't. No, I don't want that. Oh, I can do that. My lunchbox over there. You heard of those?
No.
120 watts RMS.
Oh wow.
Weighs 7 pounds. It's killer, man. And I can keep up with any drummer in town on a jazz gig.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I use that for my jazz gigs. My overeducated, I have one of my students, James Jiskra, guitar major at Mary, graduated, and he's actually the advertising account guy at Vintage Guitar. So you know James.
I emailed him about this project as well.
Oh.
I had never heard back from him, so I'm sure he's busy on vacation like Craig is.
Yeah.
So I'll come back around and talk to him again.
But he's gotten into building amps.
Yeah.
And beautiful amps, and so I bought a James Jiskra speaker, and the new speakers, they're the ceramic cones, and they're very, very light.
Yeah.
But the cabinet is about this high, but it's still uber light. But in the back, he has you think it's a drawer to put your stuff in? No, I need an open back sound.
Oh, okay.
Now you got an open back cabinet, close it, tightens it right up.
Wow.
And a Vox amp head.
Okay.
It's 100 watts.
Yeah.
And it's great for my pedal board. And you go, this is awesome.
Fantastic.
Oh,
yeah, I think I had a tube amp in high school. And even as a young kid, I'm like, this is so heavy.
Oh, I had a twin reverb.
And I just am like, no, this is no good. I had put wheels on the bottom so I could kind of, not drag it around. And then at that point, I had the Polytones. I still do.
Yeah.
I have 2 of them, Mini Brutes. And then at that point, the next amp I got was one of those modeling Mustang ones from Fender. And I think I got like the LT25, the LT50. And the reason I got the 50 is because I was subbing for somebody at doing a dance in St. Paul, and they had to mic that little amp, and the 50 has a plug-in right in the back that you can go and send right to the mixer. So I'm like, oh, I'll get that. And then at that point, I'm like, well, I just don't know if that's going to be enough volume. And so I ended up getting like the big 12-inch GTX one. And I'm like, this is perfect. And it has all these different sounds on top of it. I don't have to try to create the wheel again. And so I've really been digging on those quite a bit. And then I think I got a Fender Champion 100, which is a big 212 amp. And I haven't used that a whole lot, but boy, that thing is loud. It is really loud. And talking about that, obviously we're in a quiet environment. As I shared with you before about even the 2 years that I was in that Cinderblocks torture chamber, having to direct band. How is your hearing now, do you feel?
Well, I had to be careful as a marching band director. The new drums, not even the new, the marching band percussion, those are Kevlar heads.
Yeah.
And those are so loud. And I'd come home with headaches and I had to do something. And so I would wear the foamy plugs, which I hated, but what do? You wear them during marching band season. So I was real careful in standing in front of there's a reason we called the jazz band the Screaming Demons.
Mm-hmm.
Those bands played, man.
Yeah.
And when I took over for Gordy Canuck in the band room, I was coming home with crazy headaches every day, 5 rehearsals a day, and just it was so loud. And so I knew I had to do something, so I started researching musician earplugs, and I hated every one of them. And the district put in some acoustical things in there, and then we remodeled and got the new. Have you seen the new band room?
I haven't. No.
The new. It's
Yeah.
really quite nice.
Yes.
And did a lot of that stuff. And then I left and went to the church. Then when I came back, I bit the bullet and I went down to Med Center 1 at the time, Sanford Health now.
Yeah.
Saw an audiologist and they did the cast of my ear and sent them away. And $300 later, you get these earplugs and you can put these little capsules in it. I want 5 dB reduction, 15, 10, 20. Those and you know, that was kind of early technology, and I never really liked those either.
Okay.
But at church we're using in-ears,
Okay.
and the beauty of in-ears is you can turn it down and still hear everything just beautifully. It's also the curse of church, in-ears. I can't hear what's going on, so I'm constantly taking them in, putting them out, you know. And overeducated, you know, we don't play all that loud. And the bar we play at most of the time is Laughing Sun Brewery, and so we use our in-ears. We have these cool little XLR on this end and 1/8" plug here with a volume.
Yeah.
You know, and mixers nowadays, he's got 16 subs he can send out.
Sure.
And so we all get our own channel. Okay, a little more piano, a little less, you know. So we're watching volume that way. But yeah, George Anderson will tell you need to take care of your ears.
Yeah.
Because the Simley band, he didn't. And you were in that little box of a room. And he fried his ears. And he told me later after he retired that he has to have a radio on at night because the tinnitus was so bad. Constantly in his ears. And there's nothing they can do for that. So you got to be careful. And playing in big bands, you know, in college, I'd sit in front of the drummer playing Count Basie stuff. Man, I had plugs in then because our drummers were killing it, you know, and cymbals are really bad. My son, the drummer, always wears plugs if he's drumming because of the cymbals.
Yeah.
They're just really loud. And so we're all very aware of our ears. I've been cursed with, and my older brother has the same thing. We have a dysfunctional eustachian tube. So I was Dr. Spots' oldest patient for getting tubes in their ears. You know, usually they put tubes in babies' ears.
Yeah.
I was like 53 when he put tubes in my ears.
Yeah.
And it really helped. And they fall out by design.
Sure.
They just fall out. But where he made the incision and put the tube is right where the bass frequency registers. So the bass player may as well have stayed home. I couldn't hear a note they played.
Oh, okay.
And that was really hard. You know, if you don't, because there's a reason they call it bass.
Yeah,
I didn't have that. And I remember when the tube fell out because, there's Tim. I can hear him playing.
Yeah.
Then my bass came back.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good.
But I do think there's something going on now. I think there's scar tissue in that or something. So I am having, it's not tinnitus, but I'm having some ear issues where the bass sounds flat.
Oh.
I'll be listening to a recording going, man, the bass is flat. So somehow my ear, and I'm gonna go see a guy and get that checked.
Oh, sure, sure.
Because you know, it's music. I don't want to lose that in my old age.
Right.
You know.
Now, as we talked about instruments, do you still have early instruments that were like, this meant this to me?
No.
Or you've sold or traded?
Well, you know how it is. You know, I want to buy the PRS, so I got to trade that in. I have real regrets.
Yeah.
Man, I wish I still had my Super 400, and I wish I had my 350, and I wish I had my 335. A college professor up at BSC has my 335. I sold it to him. Okay. But I wasn't buying that guitar unless I sold this guitar, and I'm not buying that amp unless I sold this amp, and I am not buying, you know. Sure. I would love on my shelf over to here to have a Bandmaster head, just the head. Have you priced those suckers?
Yeah, really
they're stupid because everybody wants them.
Yeah.
You know, even if they don't work, they're $1,900. Well, that's a pretty expensive shelf ornament.
You know? Exactly. So, your Super 400, when did you get that and when did you sell that?
I got it in 77.
Okay.
And it was a great instrument. God, it was gorgeous. But Condell had me order it without a pickup.
Okay.
which, you know, in his era, that was the thing to do because he wanted that body to resonate. Hindsight, boy, that was a mistake. I wish I'd ordered it with humbuckers because we had to get it pick up and I had to have it mounted and I had no volume control. So I always had to run it through a volume pedal. I mean, when did I sell that? We were living in this house, so it had to be after 90. I probably sold around 92, 93.
Okay. Because during that same time, I remember having a discussion with you, and you probably said that you still had that, but then I thought you were mentioning that you really wanted like that West Montgomery, like an L5, but it was so expensive.
Yeah.
I just can't get that.
Yeah.
And, so,
and that, I think that thing was even bigger than the Super 4.
Okay.
God, those were huge guitars.
Yeah. And so, but I think in your 335 was red.
Yes.
Yes. So I remember seeing that.
Trapeze, tailpiece.
Yes, several times then. So the guitars that you have on the pictures on the wall are the guitars that you have now. You don't have anything else.
Well, I did sell the T5.
Okay.
As you get older in life, and you know, I've been very blessed, you know, as a teacher, you know, teaching is, I was well paid, and so I could afford my habits.
Yeah.
And I've never been an acoustic guy. I just never have, but doing the church gig, I needed the acoustic guitar, so I got the T5, and the beauty of the T5 is it's skinny like an electric. But it was just sitting here. I maybe played it once a year, and there was a young man at our church who had been mentoring and teaching him how to be a worship leader, and he was just loving it, you know, and I knew his dad, and I said, you know, great Christmas present for this kid would be this T5. Because I'd let him play it all the time. I'd let him take it and play it, and he just loved it all. You know, well, he was a young starving college kid. He couldn't afford a T5, but I'd let him play it. You know, he's like, said, you know, Mike, kid loves this guitar. He's got talent. I'm selling it. I'll sell it to you for a really good price. And he, awesome. And so he bought it for his kid for Christmas. Well, he still plays it today. He leads worship at our church, and he's, you know, he's a nurse now. He's got a degree. He's making money. He's got he and his wife have their first child. But he bought a PRS acoustic. It's gorgeous. But it makes me feel good to see him play that guitar, rather than sitting in the basement here. That's a crime. No beautiful instrument. And same with the 350 and the Super 4. I couldn't physically play them anymore. And I wasn't taking them to gigs. They were a beast to deal with. Let's put it in the hands of somebody that's going to play it. And I'm sure I sold those two to collectors, but no regrets. No regrets.
Because again, as from what you're speaking of, is that you see it as a tool. It's a utilitarian type of thing. It's not like, look at what I have. These special things like you need
exactly.
To use
it. We're searching tone. We're searching all our lives for tone, and I've had a whole bunch. I had an Ignator amp. Cool amp, very cool. Turned out to be more of a rocker than I wanted. But I had a young kid that I knew was rocking, and I said, hey kid, I got this amp, I'll sell it to you. It could cost this much new, I'm gonna sell it to you for half price. It thrills me to see a young student go, I could never afford this, and now I got this, you know. That's and I learned that again from my friend Scott Previs. He would buy a drum set, play it for 2 years, and then sell it to one of his students at half price because he knew the kid couldn't afford it, but the kid needed a good set. And so you kind of learn from your mentors and your elders that that's the way to do it. And so, you know, I'll have an amp or a piece of gear, and I'll sell it to a kid cheap because I know he can't afford it. And so, you know, I've been blessed. I can. You know, I've got a lot of gigs. Teaching was very good for me.
No, absolutely.